So I've worked with Ranger for a long time, and I'm now one of their signature designers. It's like, woohoo! So my new line just came out in last month at CHA, and we've brought out inks, spray inks, and they're in my signature colours, so they're really, really, really bright. And people say, oh, are they replacing the Adirondacks? No, the colour wash, we still use the colour wash. The two differences between colour wash and mine is colour wash is a textile dye, so it will dye fabrics, and when it's heat set it's permanent. Mine isn't, because I don't need it to be. I'm not going to wash this book, I'm not going to wash this canvas. I don't really need it to be, so that's the main difference. And the second difference is mine are more gorgeous. Because people ask me all the time, how do you art journal? I don't know. I don't know how you art journal, because I just do what I do. I can show you how I do it, I can show you my process, I can show you how my mind works, but that might frighten you a bit. But I can show you, I don't profess to be an expert on art journaling, I just do what I do. And you will journal differently. You might start off doing it like mine, but then you'll alter. And don't let anybody tell you that what you do is not right, it's not an art journal, because they don't know what you're going to do. Your art journal is your art journal, so anything you do in there is right. I give you permission to do anything you want, and because it's quite new in Norway, isn't it, art journaling, so the art journaling police have not been set up yet. They haven't, so you can do anything at all. You can draw, you can paint, you can scrapbook, anything. Okay, so I'll start with some tags, and I use a lot of ink, and people when they first see me spray, they're like, oh, she's used a lot of ink, she's going to waste it. But I use every drop, so I just work differently. I always start with water because I want the inks to blend. Now I know it blends beautifully on manila, it blends lovely in that book, but there's certain cards that you will use and they're very porous, so the inks soak straight in, so I always take water first. They didn't have one, but I use this one of these bottles, you know, the mini misters. We do a bigger mixer now, or mister as well. So I spray it with water, even if I'm working in the book. And what I'll do is I'm going to work on this and I'm going to transfer colour to here. So if I was working in a book, I would work on this page, shut the book and open it. I don't often do it in this large book because it is so big, but I did it there, can you see? So I've inked that page, then I closed the book and did it across. But normally on that size book I just work on one page. So I've put water on it, and then people say all the time, and what colours, whatever I pick up, so it doesn't matter. So blobs of colour, can you see? It's puddles of colour. We don't I don't want, a lot of you're like this, you know, so spray, give it a nice spray. I'll have a bit of red down here as well. You need to get the ink on there, and then I always add water over the top as well and get it spraying. Can you see? Look, it's gorgeous, gorgeous. And then I take another tag, so this is where I would shut my book, but here I'm just going to take another tag, press it together. Oh, this is running out. And then, can you see, it transfers it across. And if you think to yourself, well, actually there's not enough red on there, you can take the red again and you can spray a bit more red. Whatever you want to do, so you can either leave it like that or you can just add some more. So I'm going to pop those over there because I'm going to use those in a minute. And then you've got all this ink left here, so I always take a spare tag, which I've sprayed, which of course I meant to do. So you're just going to pick up some of the ink on here. So now, even though we've used the same colours, can you see it's totally different? You get a totally different tag. So I'm just going to dry it a bit because I'm going to pick some more of this up. And when you add ink to ink, if you add it to wet ink, it will just blend in. So you need to dry it and then add more on the top. But I get fed up, so I'll just run quick. So I'm just going to pick up. So, you know, if you like Tim's style and you like the distressed, this is the way you can do it. I end up with piles and piles of tags here, which are what I call my mop-up tags. And these are all just left from, they've all gone. These are what I make just with mopping up. So I'm just going to add a little bit more on there, and then I'm going to put that there to dry, and then I might take a small tag. I work on lots of things at the same time, and then I've always got a stock. So can you see, my bright inks will still give you a muted colour if you want. So put the stencil on. They like to keep me in my place. So I put the stencil on, this is water. I'm just going to spritz water through because my inks are reactive with water, like Tim's, but we use them in a different way. So I remove colour. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to flip the stencil over and press the stencil down onto there. And then what I do is I just blot. So I've got the positive image there and I've got the negative image. Now I'm going to add more ink on the top, so I'm going to dry them. And you'll see how the ghosting comes more as you dry it. And it becomes really noticeable. And again, I'm only drying it because I'm going to go straight on with some more ink. If I was at home, I'd throw this to one side and be doing something else and doing something else. And I do exactly the same in the books. You can see this is the ghosting here. Where was that one? It was the red and blue. That one. Can you see the ghosting? So this is your positive, and this is where it's flipped, and that's your negative, so it's just lifted it out. And I like layers, I like lots of layers in there, and it's just very subtle. Like me, very subtle. So it's just the start of the first layer. So then I'm going to go back on with a different stencil, and the ink, and again I'll just pick up whatever colour I come to. And I'll just a light spray this time, and then turn it over. Dab it. Light spray. Dab it. I'm going to take the black, and don't be frightened to use black in your work. And I'm just going to stamp down. Can you see how black makes the colours pop? You see how it just makes them pop out like that. And then what am I going to do? I need to clean my stamp. And look at all the shades you get, all the shade in there. If you tried to do that, you won't be able to do it, would you? If you deliberately set out to put all those shades in. So the ink is on there, and you're going to clean the ink off, so you might as well clean it off onto something else, really. So I'm going to use one of the background stamps, and this time I'm actually going to put it on a block. Put this paper underneath. And I'm just going to stamp, just add some round. Okay, so I'm going to colour these in, and I like to colour in. I feel that when you buy stuff, you shouldn't buy things that are specifically for one job. If I'm using the inks for backgrounds, I'll colour in with my inks. If I'm using stains for background, I'll colour in with my stains. If I'm using paints, I'll colour in with paints. You want to make your products really, really versatile so that you're using them constantly. And it's not, oh, I need to go get that to colour, oh, I need to go get that. You want to use them all together. So this is our new water brush. I've got two new water brushes. One has got a big wide thing for doing washes, which is lovely, and this one is the fine tip one. Now I've never used a water brush as good as this. It was absolutely lovely. It's got the plug in there that you lift out, and I filled it with my inks, and I've just taken a pipette, drawn some of the ink up and just put it in there. And I've been using these. CHA was 4 weeks ago, and I've been using them. But this is, see, this is the orange going on top of the blue. Now I don't colour neatly. Is that a surprise to you? Because I don't need to. I can do, look. I can colour. I can stain the lines, but then I get bored. So I just sort of mash around, and these brushes I really mash around, and they've still got the point. They're so good. But you don't need to colour neatly because you know that's a flower. The way I've drawn these stamps is very sketchy, so that's the way I paint them. And do you know what? If you paint them all like that, people go, oh, she's so artistic. Honestly, it's great. So you just add in the bits, and then I'll put some green. But can you see how the colour is staying? They're so intense. They're beautiful. Beautiful. I told you they were gorgeous.